Hey there, everybody. Pete here from Comic Book Geezers. Welcome to another edition of Inside the Cover. Here solo today. While you're watching this, I'm actually on vacation, and so I decided before I left, couldn't get together with Bill. We didn't have enough time, so I just put together a couple episodes for you that'll run this week. Continuing on with the Halloween horror monster comic theme, and of course, Inside the Cover. So today we're going to look at a pretty cool issue from 1970. Where Creatures Roam, #1. Pretty cool cover there. Yes, that is a Jack Kirby cover. Pretty intense. The brute that walks. Gaze upon me, mortals, and tremble, for I am the brute that walks. First issue here. So the first story is actually the title story. I am the brute that walks, part 1. Here you got the brute, and here you got the skinny guy. The end of the skinny body. So basically, how this story starts, after you see the giant behemoth battling all sorts of creatures, you see a couple of panels in. Still we got the monster rampaging around. He's actually talking, right? So it's a gigantic monster. It's a monster. Run while you can. Run, fools. Run from me. Flee for your very lives. And no one can withstand my onslaught. Do you hear? No one. This was the living nightmare that appeared last month, but how did it all begin, and how did it really end? Those are questions which only I can answer, for I was the brute that walks. So then we go to a panel of this kind of skinny nobody of a guy with his girl down below. Okay, right there. And you got two kind of tough guys looking over saying, hey, that's what I call a real good looking doll. Hey, that's what I call a really good looking doll. Yeah, but look at that skinny punk with her. She sure deserves better than him. And so the guy's name was Howard Avery, kind of a nobody. He goes, although Sally never complained about my size, I knew that deep down she must have wished I could be more of a He-Man. She doesn't respect me. She's ashamed of me. Sooner or later she's going to break off with me unless somehow I can become bigger and stronger. So of course, Howard Avery is a scientist. So he goes messing with all sorts of chemicals and things like that. Does it sound like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? Yeah, a little bit. Creates this serum. He takes it. All of a sudden, he starts changing into this brutish creature, right? He's growing ears and hair. His changes facing, looking somewhat simian. No, I wanted to be tall, but not a giant. Not ugly. Not like this. When will it stop? Where will it end? And before you know it, he's so big, he's breaking through the floor of his apartment, right? He's crashing through the building, running through the streets, right? What is happening to me? I'm a monster. My skin is as strong as steel. How does he know that? I don't know. He literally just grew this big, busted out of the building, but he knows his skin is strong as steel. Okay, whatever. My size will make the very earth tremble. Behold me, humans. Behold the monster man. So are you the monster man or are you the brute? Don't know. Next page, all of a sudden, now he's starting to terrorize people. And then he sees the people shooting at him. The cops are shooting at him. Bullets are bouncing off of him. How dare you try to harm me? This is what I think of your measly weapons, right? Let this be a warning to any who dare to defy me. So he's rampaging about. The cops are like, did you hear that name? And of course he goes, now I must pay a call on Sally Barton. I must show her what has become of the weakling whom everyone laughed at. So the cops hear that, like, because they hear the monster talking. They're like, did you hear that name? Sally Barton? Whoever she is, we better contact her fast. If the monster gets to her before we do, she's doomed. And then you got part 2 of the tale. There's the big splash page, right? So you got that must be Sally in the amusement park on the roller coaster. The big hand of the brute looking to nab a hold of her. And then we've got, speaking of monsters, there we got some monster-sized monsters. We got the Frankenstein monster and the skeleton. New Marvel Mania Club. All right. Then here we go. The police get a hold of Sally and they call her. So she's like, oh no. It's like, I will leave here immediately. And then, of course, the monster shows up. The brute shows up at her place, looks in the window. She's not home, but wherever she is, I'll find her. So he goes rampaging around the streets, okay, just destroying everything he sees. Cops show up, shooting at him. Nothing works, right? All of a sudden, he notices her. He starts chasing her, just wrecking everything in sight. This is classic Jack Kirby art here. Very early on. He was so good at monsters back in the day. Nobody can keep you from me. So then all of a sudden a truck pulls up, crashes into the back of his leg. So this is the first time he's actually showing any kind of pain here from all this onslaught that he's getting from the human race. And then, of course, he looks over. So Sally escapes his clutches because he gets hit with the truck. He sees her running into an amusement park because, of course, that amusement park's going to be right there in the middle of the city, right? Yeah. So he's looking over. She ran into that crowded amusement park, but I'll find her wherever she goes. There she is, getting onto that roller coaster car. Now, one quick question I have here is, like, if you are someone running away from a monster who is, maybe the size of a building, he's pretty tall, he's pretty big, why would you go onto a amusement park ride? Specifically a roller coaster. Roller coasters sit up high. Should be pretty easy for the monster to go and grab you then, right? Common sense, people. Sally, use your head. But what does she do? Yes, she goes on top of the roller coaster, and she's sitting up there and notices, oh, he's climbing up the roller coaster. He's coming here after me. But of course he is. In fact, it doesn't really look like he's climbing much. It's a pretty easy stretch for him. So he goes to grab her on the next page. He misses her. She gets away, and what does she do then? She goes into the haunted house of horrors. Okay, and she's hanging out in there, and he's shouting from outside. She's like, please go away, stop tormenting me, I don't know you, I've never harmed you, let me alone, come back to me. He just wants to show her that, hey, he's big tough guy now, right? And she's like, it's hopeless, I can't go on, I just can't, oh, it's awful, right? So then he goes to reach inside the haunted house for her. You will be mine forever. She's fainted at this point. And then all of a sudden, he notices his strength starts to disappear. He starts to shrink. His face starts to go back to normal. He's become human again. Just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the serum eventually wears off. So he is now back to Harold Avery once again. I'm growing smaller. My muscles are getting weaker. My skin is becoming softer. I'm becoming human again. I'm myself again. I'm back to normal. So, of course, right when he turns back to normal, Harold, she wakes up. She goes, oh, what happened? Sally, darling, are you all right? She goes, Howard, yes, thanks. I'm all right. Oh, thank heavens you're here. It was awful, like an impossible dream. That hideous monster, he kept chasing me until he finally... Wait, Howard, where is the monster? How did you get me away from him? You defeated him. You destroyed him, didn't you? Forget about the monster, darling. He's gone, and I can swear to you that he'll never appear again. So then the cops show up, and they're like, oh, you must be a scientist. What did you do to get rid of this monster? We need to tap into your intellect, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden now he's a big deal. Not only to his girl who thinks he defeated this creature, but to the authorities, right? So then the moral of the story is, then you don't wish I were taller, more husky and strong. Oh, darling, you saved me from the clutches of the monster when no one else in the world was able to help me. You're all the man I'll ever want. You'll be my hero forever. So for destroying the monster, I was given a reward, which I used to pay for all the damage caused by my brutal other self. So he got a huge reward, and he paid for all the destruction in the city. That must be some reward. What else? Then there remained but one thing for me to do. My notes, my growth serum, I will destroy everything forever. How lucky I was that the monster man soon faded away, but I should have known that in her wisdom, nature never permits anything evil to endure. Okay, now. Fun. As we've talked about quite a bit in this series, a lot of these old stories, these old horror monster stories, are really simplistic, and there's usually always some kind of like feel-good ending. In most cases, there it's all like morality play and whatnot. But it's monster stuff. It was these actual stories. So this was published in 1970. But the actual, the actual story. See if exactly when that came, because I don't think this was from 1970. It doesn't say. Maybe it was a story from 1970, but I kind of thought this was earlier than that. No, 1961. So this is an old Atlas magazine story. So then we got a second story here called Kragu. So now we got some alien creatures, right? So Kragu. So we go to this this other planet. What is the planet name? The Kragum. Okay. The dreaded Kragum of another universe. So they're plotting this whole plan to go to other worlds, infiltrate the worlds, take over each planet, and become the dominant species, right? So here's how they're going to do that. So the Kragu, they're going to send the Kragu, those are the warriors, they're going to send all to the other planets. Each of you, Kragum, will be sent to a different planet. When you arrive, you will seek out the planet's dominant life form. Then you will do what only you can do because you are Kragum. You will dematerialize yourself. Then by atomic penetration, you will put your personality, your essence, into one of the dominant creatures of each of the victims' planets. So once you have taken over an alien creature, you will control him. You will force him to use his eyes to hypnotize others of his kind, and these in turn will be made to hypnotize more and still more. And so this chain reaction will increase until all the members of all the dominant life forms have become our slaves, and their planets our conquest. But you must remember this. You can transport your personality only one time. Once you are in the control of your alien victim, you will have to remain until the planet is conquered and we bring you back here for special materializing treatments. Now to your ships, our invasion must not fail. Okay, so pretty simple concept. Go to the planet, first person you see, take over their body, then in turn take over another body. They will take in turn over another body. So you're basically just transforming each of these people, these humans in our case, right, into these kind of creatures that have no will of their own, right? So that's how you take over the whole planet. So the main character here, he lands on Earth. He starts creeping around, right? He looks in a house. Suddenly your eye catches the sight of an ideal figure. That male human. He is young and well built. He appears healthy, but he would be an admiral earthling to conquer. So what does he do? He climbs into the house. He dematerializes himself into this person. And he's like, all right, so I'm in here. In another moment, my entire personality will have control of this earthling body. There, it is accomplished. Now I can... He's like, wait a second. Why is nothing happening? Wait, what is wrong? What have I done? No. I've trapped myself. I've failed. For the first time in the history of the galaxy, one of the Kragun has failed. As it turns out, he went into a museum and he dematerialized himself in a statue. So now he is forever going to be sitting into this stone statue in this museum, unable to do exactly what he set out to be. Failure, right? So that's that story. And the final story, another interesting one. This one is called Fear in the Night. Here we've got Steve Ditko art here, classic Steve Ditko, also very good at monsters early on. So here you have these two folks here. You got this robot and this dude. They're on a planet. They land on a planet and they come into contact with this giant monster. We can't defend ourselves from that. We don't have any weapons. It's going to attack us. So basically what they're doing after they've landed, they are just running away from this giant monster, trying to stay alive. Okay, so that's basically the gist of the story. So they have these like pills that can keep them alive for a certain amount of time on a foreign planet with a different atmosphere that they can't breathe. So they have only a certain amount of pills to take to stay alive. So they're kind of basically looking at how much they have left and how long they can stay afloat here, all right, with the monster chasing them. So they're like, oh, we've got, X amount of days or whatever. So they continue to take these, and then they get to the point where they don't have enough left. So the human basically says, well, here's the last batch we have, take it. I will sacrifice myself so you can go on. Says this to the robot. So he goes up to the monster, starts, battling with the monster, whatever, to take the attention away from the robot. A spaceship comes, lands. Okay, the monster goes away. They shoot some stuff at the monster. The monster goes away. The robot goes back onto the spaceship with the human. And then the big reveal is that they can't believe that the robot, because we think it's a human, but it's actually the robots that we thought were the robots are actually aliens, and what looks like a human was actually a robot species that they created. So in actuality, the robot is giving up its life, knowing it's not a living, breathing person or being, to the alien creatures. And so they're like, outside of their appearance, these plastic robots we made have as much feeling as any of us natives of planet Xenok. It is a slight repair. In a few seconds, you'll be as good as when you came back from the assembly line. So, they're astounded that he was willing to sacrifice himself for the alien creature, right? So don't judge a book by its cover. So they it's kind of a little bait and switch there. They make you think that it's a robot and a human. In actuality, it's an alien and a human, or a robot guised as a human. So and there you have some fishing tackle stuff, right? And now you can finish high school at home. Gee, we would have loved to do that back in the day. Thanks for watching, everybody, here in this another edition of Inside the Cover. Some spooky stuff. We got another one coming up for you this week, and then Wild Bill and I will get back together once I'm back from vacation. And we got more stuff to round out the month as we take you up through Halloween for some cool horror and monster comics inside the cover. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell. We appreciate everything. And if you look below, there's also a link to the Sea of Tranquility merch site where you can get some Comic Book Geezers merch as well. Got a really cool t-shirt, lots of Sea of Tranquility stuff, and coffee mugs and hats and hoodies and all that fun stuff. So for Pete and Wild Bill is not here today. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon on Comic Book Geezers. Bye-bye.